My clock in the other room is saying it's 10 o'clock, but it's like 2 minutes fast. Okay. All right. So now all we do is wait, and people be coming in shortly. Okay, guys, we see there's 13 of y'all already here. So can y'all start saying hello so we'll know who's in the room and where you here from? Good morning, Lady Longlegs. Mama Bear Cuddles. Hi, how are you? Killing Season 212. Oh no, 2121. Hi. I was thinking today is 0220 220. It's like 022220. And all those twos add up to 8 for me. That's like success. So this could be such a great round table. Good morning, Carrie. Good morning, Killing Season 21. Oh, I already said hi to you. Laurie. Hi, Laurie. It's good to see you. I'm glad you stopped in to say hello. And whenever you leave, whenever you have to leave, you have to leave. I hope you have a great day at work and then come back and watch the replay later. Howdy, Aisha. Is that how you say your name? It's nice to see you. And good morning from Roseville, California, Carol. It's nice to see you. Atlanta, Georgia, Killing Season 2121. Nice. I'm not sure how to say that. Ori or Oro, good morning. Are you seeing it?
Yeah, I typed that in chat right now.
Oh, you did that. Okay. That's you. Okay, good. Very good. And Snizana, nice to see you. Hello. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Yes, if you put in 2020, it kind of in this, you must not be here in the States, or else maybe you're military. When you put the day and then the month and then the year, here where I'm from, we do the month and then the day and then the year. Laura, hi, it's good to see you from Clearwater. Awesome. Barb, good morning. It's nice to see you. Hey, Dee, good to see you. Deep Truth, hi. Thank you, Laurie. I always thank you too. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we have with us Aurora and Stacey. And Aurora, you want to wave so they can see who you are. And then Stacey, you can wave so they can see who you are. And it's kind of the last 2 weekends, it's kind of worked out the way I had intended, where there would be more than just me and one other person. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by just letting each one introduce themselves and where they're from, if they choose to say where they're from, and maybe a little bit about their background and where they are now in this spiritual journey, because I think we are all on some sort of spiritual journey. Lawanda, good morning. Dream Girl Spirituality, good morning. Veronica, good morning. Nice to see y'all all. It's a beautiful Saturday morning over here. Aurora, why don't we start with you? Introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and a little bit about what's going on with your journey and how did it start?
All right, hello. My name's Aurora. I'm 20 years old currently, and I'm from California. So last year, around January, I had my awakening. I was like kind of in a dark place. I wouldn't say dark, but pretty lonely. So I was just like being reckless or whatever, and I stumbled upon some YouTube videos about, I guess, spirituality in a way, but it led like down a rabbit hole, and I just like went deeper and deeper into that. And ever since then, like I've just been learning more. And
So whenever you say you were in a dark place, do you want to expand on that maybe and tell us a little bit about that, and exactly what is it about what you saw on YouTube that made you go, wait a minute, there's way bigger stuff going on out there than what I knew? What was it?
right, so in 2017, around like August, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and that year, like a month later, she passed away.
Oh,
So yeah.
I'm
So
sorry.
I went through my senior year without her basically, and then end of senior year, I moved out of my grandma's place when we were all living together, and it didn't go good at all. So I like lost my grandma, and then from losing her, I didn't really have like anyone else to lean on other than who I was staying with at the time. And just staying with the other person was not that healthy. Like things were said that didn't happen. So nothing was going anywhere with me. And I just like, I didn't care anymore. And so I would watch a lot of YouTube videos. And I came across something about like something biblical. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was saying about like something about big trees. And like I was so amazed by that because it was like maybe 100,000 years ago or more, like there was other creatures or other like human beings like us, but like different, like taller, smaller, you know? And so I like went down a rabbit hole on that and I'm like, there has to be more out there. Like there has to be, you know? And so I started watching this guy named Psych Substance on YouTube,
Mhm.
and he was talking about like DMT and like just drugs in general and how you can see like other entities if you're like tripping or like they'll talk to you. And so like I was fascinated by that. And then like I stumbled upon other YouTubers like I don't know if you know Phil Good or Aaron Dowdy. No?
Oh, Aaron, yes, I know
Yeah,
Aaron.
Aaron. I found him and he just intrigued me as well. So I've been watching those kinds and, you know, just falling deeper and deeper into spirituality with them.
Awesome. Okay, Stacy, tell us about you. Introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Stacey. I'm in Austin, Texas,
Oh,
and
you're my neighbor.
oh, really?
Yeah, I'm in Louisiana.
Okay. So my background, I guess I'll start with my education. I started out with a bachelor's in art therapy, and then went into a master's program for that, and then wound up having twins and never really finished that program. So that was in New Jersey. Then I moved to Austin, Texas, where I finished my master's degree in counseling for marriage and family therapy, as well as just regular counseling. And through my education, I worked alongside at-risk youth. I did my internship in a nonprofit for foster care. And in my own life and in my work, I just noticed the pattern of I'm constantly being exposed to trauma, other people's trauma, my trauma, me triggering other people, people triggering me, until, as far as an awakening for me, if I look back, it kind of happened in stages. So it was like these little mini awakenings. And then when I got close to something, I just kind of, I'm done, and would walk away and would stop the work that I was doing. The most recent experience I had was, I guess, more of a physical awakening. So medically, I was diagnosed with MS in 2004. So for me, whenever something occurs in my life, health-wise, everyone just assumes, well, it just must be MS. So I kind of fell into this like annoying pattern of, I'm not going to call a doctor or go see a doctor until like I know what I'm dealing with. But this one time, I basically felt like I was having a heart attack. So it was like extreme chest pains. I couldn't sleep. Like was literally sitting up in bed, trying to like hug a pillow to try and soothe myself to sleep because it hurt so bad. Went to the emergency room, had all the tests, went and saw a cardiologist, had all the tests, and nothing's wrong with me. So that's when I started kind of looking into it on my own. And I guess what you could say it was my heart chakra opening. So since then, that like pretty much started the spiritual path for me. My background spiritually is I've had no religious upbringing.
None.
I think I attach myself most to like a Buddhist mentality, where it's like, be kind to yourself, compassion, be kind to others. But in a way, not having a religious background, I feel gave me kind of an advantage, because now I can kind of decide for myself, and it's one less thing that I have to unlearn, because
Right.
in my own recovery, there's all this patterning and stuff that's not mine, and trauma that's not mine, that like I'm sifting through. And although it's hard work, I'm a completely different person, and I'm constantly changing, constantly evolving. And it just, I'm a little sad sometimes, like, why didn't I find this sooner? But then I know that when you're ready, it comes. So
Yes.
I can't spend time in that, like, I wasted so much time. Like, how could I have not? And so, yeah.
Right. That's
And
when,
so go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was just going to finish with, so what I'm currently doing now is, I'm a certified health and life coach, and my business is trauma recovery. So I'm hoping that I can assist other people through, like, because a big part of spirituality is, you know, sifting through your trauma and healing from it. And that's a lot of the stuff that stopped me. So in the process of those mini little awakenings, when it got too heavy or something blocked me or I wasn't ready to look at that, it just put everything on pause and decided not to move forward. I feel like if someone would have been there to help me through that, it would have made a difference of like staying on the path. So.
Do you feel like, I'm going to ask you a question, then I want to go back to Aurora. Do you feel like looking back that somebody not being there actually helped you to embody each lesson when you did understand what it was or what was going on? Do you feel like you embodied it differently, maybe more strongly than somebody who would have learned something from somebody else conceptually?
Not at the time. In hindsight, yeah, I can say that. Yeah, at the time it was just like another like, great, here I am again, no support, you know, just reiterating the poor me, victim, all that stuff. So,
But looking back, yes, no, not necessarily.
again, I feel no one's just going to appear. You kind of have to seek it. And sometimes when we seek things in places where we're not in a good place, we don't necessarily know what we need. And
right.
we wind up finding like whoever we sought or whatever we thought we needed was the wrong or wasn't exactly what was going to be helpful at the time. And then that turns into a whole nother block for us where we're like, well, I tried therapy, that didn't work. So.
Yeah. Okay. Back to you, Aurora. One of the things that Stacey said that made me think right back to our initial conversation when you first got on the Zoom call with me was that you're only 20 years old, and now you're going through this awakening process, and that's what Stacey just alluded to earlier, is that part of me thinks, why couldn't I have understood all this earlier? And I've thought the same thing. However, when I do look back, I think, well, I can see so many things that helped me to be who, I don't know if I could be me today if I had learned it all those years ago, is what I'm saying. But with you, did you grow up with your mom bringing you to church, or was there no religious background? What was your background?
Yeah, actually, I was around the age of 11 through 13. I was kind of pushed into Jehovah's Witness.
Mm-hmm.
And so every week we would go there, and I personally didn't like it. I had nothing against it. I don't know, something about that time, I did not want to go.
It wasn't for you.
Yeah, no.
No. Okay. And we talked a little bit about, I asked you a little bit about what are your plans for the future? Like, what are you wanting to do? You want to share that with the group?
Okay, yeah. I did talk about this, but recently, I'm only 20, right? So I was brought up on gaming and like talking to other people through games, you know. So there's this platform called Twitch, and I like was thinking like maybe I could go on there and try to find other people like me or talk to other people and just talk about what I've been through or help them going through whatever they're going through. And so I want to reach out to people and, you know, spread the love, spread spirituality, or not push it on them, but show them there's another way.
Right. That they don't have to be lonely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Stacey, if you could, from the clients that you've worked with and the education that you have, which I am so in awe of your education, what would be your biggest message to people who are dealing with trauma, or do you find that sometimes people don't even realize they have trauma?
I do think that people don't realize they have it. I think it's kind of stigmatized as, you know, it has to be this extreme event, very, I don't know, like physical or like a natural disaster. Like I think people associate it with that, where it really is like childhood experiences, being bullied in school, one parent being an alcoholic, parents who were divorced, being raised by a single parent. I mean, the culmination of things that happen in our life and our skills that we have or don't have to cope. It layers up. And I think the biggest eye-opening part for me, even before we were talking about any kind of awakening, this was just like starting my education. It was becoming a mom, like stuff just you didn't even know was there, like surfaces, and you start like looking at your upbringing, and then, you know, there's this like someone, you just burst something, like your heart is walking around outside of you, and it's just this really intense feeling and emotion that comes over, and there's no time to kind of take care of yourself, all on top of that. So but I think the biggest thing for me that I like to kind of voice out there was, one of my biggest blocks was when I really got serious and was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, if next year I find myself where I am right now, I'm not okay with that. So I kind of just started looking in other directions, because I had enough education, but I didn't feel like I learned anything personally from it. Like, I couldn't apply it to myself. So I came across something where someone was just like, you need to take care of you and work on you, and stop looking at everyone in your life and try to change them. And like, I spent a good 6 months being totally stubborn about that thought. I was like, no, that's not right. It's my ex-husband's fault, and it's my mom's fault, and it's my dad's fault, and it's that person's fault. But knowing, like, having that like inner voice saying to me, like, you know, that's the answer. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready to accept that. So I think acceptance is a big thing. And I also think it's a hard reality to, like, of course you can have support, and you could seek professional help, but no one's coming to save you but yourself.
Right.
And a lot of people don't want to hear that. I was one of them.
Right.
So, but that's empowering. Once you get over that hump, you realize the potential to heal. So it's a big deal.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
It's about taking responsibility for who we are and all that stuff. So Aurora, do you feel like in your life, and because you're so young, do you feel like going forward that you would have any trauma to heal from? I mean, obviously you lost your mom at a very important time in your life, so that would be considered trauma, but any other type of trauma that you feel like you could benefit by healing or looking at deeper?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I was raised up in a household with like four of us, so there was always like the youngest and then the oldest who always got, like the different treatment from the middle child. And I, of course, was a middle child, so things happened, and my environment wasn't exactly like the most perfect. So there was always fights, slamming doors, punching the walls. So yeah, definitely. And actually last night when I was thinking about this, I was like, I have a lot of trauma. Like I need to look deeper, look into my subconscious, and I can benefit from a lot of healing if I look at that.
Mm-hmm. So you were just thinking that last night.
Yeah, I was, and it's
And look,
crazy,
you're you're on a call with a trauma coach,
Yeah.
a life and health coach. I love that. Okay, so I had another question and then I just got totally taken away. Hang on just a second. Okay, so Stacey, with the work that you do, what is like the average age of your clients, like when they realize that it is truly that I need to look at me? How old do you, or have you tracked that?
It's generally like 40s,
Oh,
but
wow.
like my background work was really with adolescents. So it's interesting to see what I've, worked, where I've worked and who I worked with as far as the adolescents age range, and then looking at the adult population and making the connections between kind of how we get stuck in certain parts of our life and how that kind of like plays out. So I don't try to focus too much on age, because I feel like Aurora, like you're 20, but I feel like you probably have way more life experience and persistence than maybe a 45-year-old. It's just, so I don't really worry too much about the age range of
Actual
whatever it is. Right.
Yeah, chronological age.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I would like to ask and maybe have you both speak to is, Aurora was saying nothing about my house was normal, or there was a lot of fighting, punching walls and stuff like that. So in her mind there was trauma there, but sometimes we look at other people and we think, oh wow, they must have the perfect life, but how much of that is a facade, and not to be judging others, but to be, let's see, how am I wanting to say this? Like for instance, whenever I left my husband this last time, we had been married 23 years. In the last 5 months before I left, I would lay in bed at night and just pray that God would just take me, because I was just done. I was emotionally, spiritually dead. I just wanted to be physically dead too. And whenever I did leave him, I'll never forget, I ran into a lady at the bank, and she said, I heard that y'all separated or whatever, and I'm so sorry. And I immediately started crying, and I told her, last 5 months, blah blah. She says, oh my God, I would have never known that. Cheryl, you're always smiling, you're always, this, that. And so how much of life is like that with other people, where we think, oh, they have it so great? And let's talk about the Facebook, or what's that other that you were just talking about, Aurora, that you're on?
Oh, the Twitch streaming?
Yeah, talk about those type of platforms, and how does it feed into this isolation that some of us feel in our own trauma? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Okay.
for me,
Go ahead.
yeah, I was alone basically when I was at home. And outside of that, I wouldn't talk to anyone about any family issues. So, and the internet was like an outlet for me, make friends through the internet. And now I realize that that's like a big part of my life, like the internet. reaching out to people through that. So yeah, I don't feel alone.
You don't feel alone anymore, right? But did sometimes watching what other people post make you feel more isolated? That's my question.
Oh yeah, there'd be times where it would, and I'd be like, oh, if I would have done this a couple years ago, I could have been here, or I could have been like them.
You start
And
judging and comparing, yeah.
yeah, yeah, but recently I've gotten like way better with that. I don't really compare myself to others or my journey to others because I know that mine's unique to myself.
Yes. Stacey?
So when you were talking about the bank situation, you just reminded me of something where I went and participated in a women's group for emotionally abusive relationships and how to find boundaries and work through some of the relationship stuff. And I started to fall into the same pattern of I was right at a turning point in my healing and recovery. And I started to turn the switch and was just like, well, you don't know me and you don't know what I've been through. And yeah, you have this story, but like, at least you don't have what he did. And I was like having this kind of out of body experience where I was watching myself talk and was kind of disgusted with my behavior, but like was so emotionally dysregulated that like I just kept spewing out like really mean things and like not being very conscious. And so upon leaving the group and everyone just walking to their cars at night, one of the women in the group stopped me and she's like, listen, I can see that you're hurting and I just want you to know. And I don't know what she said after that, but that was the first time someone acknowledged on the outside that they could see what I was going through, but it was so compassionate how she did it because she wasn't looking at me like, why are you such a bitch? You know, like,
Right.
like it wasn't that. She just could see through what I was trying to pretend, you know, I was or wasn't, and just called it out. And then the next group, I had the chance to, you know, kind of talk about that experience and then tell her how much that meant. So I think a big part of it is validation, because when you're in that, I'm surviving this, I'm really not living. You are not living at all. Like how you were saying, like, why can't you just take me? Like, what am I doing here? It's like a death in a way, because the only way to live is just to think, how am I going to get through the next hour? Like everything else becomes secondary.
Yes.
And when you get out of that, like for me, I have moments where I find myself getting agitated or life just gets stressful, or I know I didn't sleep good, or I probably should have ate an hour ago. And when that feeling comes over and I get in that mood and I'm very tense and I know that I'm feeling anxiety, like I can actually call out my feelings. I actually know what's happening internally. I just think to myself, I was like this 24/7. Like I slept like this. And then I just remind myself, like, sometimes on the journey, you don't realize how far you came. And then you have moments like that and you're just like,
wow.
Everything's perfect. You know, like no matter, it's amazing. So
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that. Somebody in the comments said something, and I want to, that's something else I should have told y'all pre-call. Whenever I'm looking down here, I'm not ignoring what you're saying. Please know that I'm just trying to do all of this at the same time. And I'm not very good at it. But somebody said something about we all feel abandoned. Who said that? I can't find it, but I think at some point in our lives, we all do feel, oh, here it is. Who feels abandoned? I bet everyone does. Artist Samoin Design said that. I think he is right. Everybody, I think at some time or another goes through a place where they do feel abandoned or lonely or isolated. And then it's almost like fear takes over, because how do we move forward? How do we find that help? So maybe both of you can speak to that. Like Aurora, you know, whenever you were going through that after you lost your mom and then you moved out from your grandmother's place, and, you know, you said it didn't go very well because whoever did something didn't do what they said they were going to do or whatever. It's like there had to be some feeling of isolation and betrayal and all that. And did it debilitate you? How did you move forward? Did you just happen upon YouTube, or were you crying out to somebody out there in the universe, please help me find an answer? How did that, like, walk it out? Were you scared?
Honestly, I don't really remember, because like there was a lot of trauma in me still at that point. Like I was low, and so like I had my cousins to talk about it like with, but I don't know. I would just go day by day, like Stacey said, like the next hour, like what am I gonna do? Like who am I gonna talk to about this? But I didn't talk to anyone, and so it all just like stayed inside of me. And I guess what led to my awakening was like, what am I gonna do next? Like, what is there to this life? And so that brought me like to my awareness about life.
Mm-hmm. So whenever you were asking those questions, were you just asking internally, or and
Yeah,
just searching on the internet, just searching for some kind of answer, like on
it was
YouTube?
internally, yeah.
Yeah. Let me just tell y'all something real quick, and then I'm gonna go to Stacey. But I really believe that YouTube, like, you can find lectures, and you know, they say don't believe everything you find on the internet, but there are some really solid resources out there. And if you're looking for answers, if any of us are looking for answers, I don't think there's any reason for us to feel like we can't find them, because just like Aurora, man, you can get on YouTube and start digging, and sometimes you might be led down the wrong road, but I think when I think there's something called grace that allows us to determine and discern what fits and what doesn't fit. And like I said, there are some really good solid resources out there. Stacey, talk to us about isolation and fear, and how does that get us, how does that keep us in that hour to hour survival mode?
I kind of describe it like a merry-go-round. Like you're watching it go by, and it's like, you know, you can get off, but you're like, but what happens if I jump and then I can't make it? And like, you just had this whole internal dialogue that's completely void of any positivity. And so it just keeps perpetuating. And it really, unfortunately, there has to be, like, I don't want to sound too extreme, but like a breaking point to where you're just like, enough. Like it just has to turn that way. And it doesn't, like, things just don't appear to you and everything's wonderful, but there's a level of, when you start looking for it, you start to see there's stuff around to like latch onto, or like, you know, give yourself some sort of substance for like life. Like you start to come back around, and it's a process. So,
Right.
Yeah, I don't really know if I answered it, but
No, you did, because it's like you said, when you start looking, but then we have to make a choice at some point, I feel like, and maybe, and listen, y'all don't have to agree with everything I say, because I might not agree with everything y'all say, and we can have that discussion too. But I feel like sometimes we have to make a choice, and that choice gets scary at sometimes, because even in our uncomfortableness, we're comfortable. Does that
right.
make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what's on the other side of us making some kind of drastic change, or even not so drastic, is unknown to us, and that's scary. Am I right? It doesn't matter if I'm right or not. Do you agree, or whatever? Go ahead, Stacey.
Yeah, I think it sounds simple, but it's like choose. And when you're there, when you're in that, telling someone to make a choice is like asking them, like, okay, I need you to speak Chinese. Like, it's like, you don't understand what that means. Like,
right.
It's overwhelming. Like, I remember losing all sense of myself. And so then you're asking me to choose one way or another, or what I want. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what do I like? What did I like? Who am I?
Yeah.
Your sense of self is lost. So it's really hard.
Yes. So what about you, Aurora? Whenever you started asking the questions and you felt like maybe there was some kind of change that you should implement, or have you gotten there yet? Or what about that for you? Making a decision about something where you have no clue what the outcome would be.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at that stage right now. Because this past year, I was like, what do I like Stacey was saying. And so I just like started putting more creative input in my life. I started painting, I started writing more, journaling. And so I was like really reflecting on myself. Yeah, I don't know. There'd be times where I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm like, okay, if I just do this, who knows what the outcome will be? So might as well just start now. And if it goes, south, then it's okay because I can start something new and I'll learn something from that. And maybe that will lead me to where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah. That's a lot of wisdom in those words. If it goes south, that's okay, because maybe I'll learn something from it. And then I'll go in another direction. There's a lot of wisdom there. But back to what you were saying too, Stacey, about just losing all sense of self. And it's like, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up, because I'm still discovering who I am. I'm 55 years old. And for probably 50 years, I was just who I thought I was supposed to be. Probably 53 years. I was just whoever I thought I was supposed to be that day. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we're on the other side of the half hour, so we're going to start taking questions. So, Gigi, girl, you said you wanted to be on this show and you will not send me your email address so I can send you a link. So you need to do that. Could it be a spiritual awakening is what she's asking. And Artisan or Artisamoin also said this. Oh, could what be a spiritual awakening? That's my question. So Gigi, what are you talking about whenever you say, could it be a spiritual awakening? Because that's basically what we're talking about here. Okay, so also, when you realize or can't remember time or being when you don't know who I am. I don't know, is that a question? Guys, if y'all have questions, please do me a favor and put like at least 2 or 3 question marks after it so that I will be able to see it. Hi, Karen from the Netherlands. It's good to see you. Everybody here, thank y'all for stopping in. Okay, so, Aurora, what if you had anything to say to a bunch of people your age and older, like some kind of sage advice, what would you say to people?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Depends on what they were saying, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. I like talking to people one-on-one, making a connection like you do with your viewers. Like,
yeah. Okay, Carrie, I get it. It's you, Carrie, from my little artist over there. I just didn't recognize that name. Hello, I'm glad you're here. Okay, so Stacey, and you talked about that a little bit already, but after trauma test faith, does trauma test our faith?
Definitely. That's part of the losing your sense of self. It's like you question everything about your life, about, like, what is love? I mean, the majority of my trauma was interpersonal trauma. It was like hurt rescue patterns just all through my life. So what do you put your faith in after that?
Yeah.
But you have to come back to self. And then again, you lost your sense of self, but you have to find yourself. You have to find yourself to get a sense of yourself. And it's just like this, it's just work. I don't know how else to, I'm not trying to make it sound impossible, but it includes failing. It includes doing the wrong thing. And then it includes having compassion and forgiving yourself. I think there's a lot of emphasis always put on forgive your perpetrator, forgive, you know, all those people. They didn't know any better. You know, they're just functioning from their level of consciousness. And it's, that's hard, but no one really focuses on forgiving yourself, because once you start peeling away the layers, there's a lot of things that you see, that you experience, that you did or you didn't do, because you were functioning from your level of consciousness. And I've had a lot of things in my life where that self-acceptance was one of the blocks that would come up for me. Like not being willing to look at my role in it. And by no means am I saying like anyone's deserved anything, you know, that somebody else did to them. But there's, if you're in it long enough, you eventually play the game. I mean, like it's, you know, you're a part of it. You're a part of the pattern. So
Yeah.
that's why that whole idea of go inward, look at yourself, heal yourself. Don't worry about all the other people or all the other experiences that you've had. You need to start there. And then upon working through that, more can unfold, and you know, you could see things differently. You can't do it from a place of blame and shame. Like it won't work.
Right. And you're reminding me of a story that I've told on here, and I'm going to do it real fast. Just that there, I got it. I was on my way to an attorney's office for signing some divorce papers for like my third divorce. And whenever I was walking out of the dealership where I worked at the time, the service manager said, "Hey, where are you going?" And I said, "To sign my divorce papers." And he's like, "Again, how many is that?" I said, 3. He says, "Oh, Cheryl," he says, "you know, there's a common denominator." He says, "There can't be something wrong with all 3 of those men." He says, "You could probably find the common denominator if you go look in the mirror." And at the time, based on where I was consciously, I didn't want to hear that. And I think I said something like "F you" and walked out, you know, because it certainly wasn't me. But then later, much later, I did see my responsibility. And then we go to where's my responsibility and am I guilty? And I think, Stacey, that says a lot about what you're talking about, is that we forget to forgive ourselves. Because we can own our responsibility in it, but not carry the guilt and the shame of our own actions. We can release that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So excuse me, Aurora, what kind of practices do you have in place? Like whenever you need to find an answer from yourself or take a step, what do you do that might resonate with some of these other people that are in the room with us, or just what do you do?
Currently I journal a lot, so I like to write in general. So I'll just write whatever I'm thinking, because like for me to think about what I'm thinking, I have to write it down, and that really gives me clarity. It gives me clarity on what to do, what am I missing that I haven't looked at, you know, about myself.
That's awesome. Stacey?
I went through a phase of like almost compulsive meditation. Like it was just constantly go inward, go inward, go inward. And then felt a little, I don't know, not disorganized, but like I wasn't grounding myself like through all that. And then started to feel like I wasn't balanced. So I kind of like released that pressure on myself to think that all the answers are in doing meditation. Just, it's not like, not necessarily going with the flow, but just allowing. I think that's another thing that for me, trauma didn't allow me to do. Like I couldn't just be, definitely couldn't receive, couldn't allow things to just unfold, because that was like really unsafe and it was chaotic to me. Like put me in a chaotic situation, I'm balanced and calm. Like
Right.
throw me into calm and it's like the end of the world, like I'm World War III in my head. And so yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought. Yeah, I'm getting more comfortable with not knowing all the answers or not thinking I'm going to find them, and just seeing what comes and being able to like let stuff happen. And if it doesn't make sense to me at that moment, know that it serves a purpose, similar to the guy at the dealership for you. Like all you're thinking is, who are you? Like to say that to me. And then how it came back to you and how you're like, wait, I heard that for a reason. And all these things, all the signs, all the synchronicities, all the people that come in and out, like I'm just being more receptive to receiving and just allowing things to unfold. So.
Right. Okay, so D. Baker is asking, and this is it could be a tough question. Did you forgive having MS, or does it make you more spiritual?
So since waking up, I've always known, like beforehand, there's like, well, nobody knows how you get MS. They think it's genetic. They think it's this. They don't know how to cure it. They don't know why it happens. But one thing that they do know through the research is it usually follows a traumatic event. So it's kind of similar to what the body does with trauma. Just like a lot of autoimmune diseases follow that path. So it kind of was like, I understand it, that it was necessary for my body to kind of like trigger that, to like, for it to, I don't know, like awaken or whatever, because part of my healing had a lot to do with, not that I was diagnosed as being disassociative, but like I definitely disassociated like constantly, because again, that's a survival mechanism. So I currently am on no MS therapies. 2 reasons. I had allergic reactions to all the drugs, and so I can't really do anything about it. I can't take anything. So
Okay, so I gotta stop you.
Yeah.
So you've been diagnosed with MS, and now you're allergic to all of the medical treatment for MS.
Yeah, it makes me sick, and I have to go off of it because my like lymphocytes shut down and my red blood cells and the whole thing.
Double whammy.
I can't even do steroids because I've been given them too much. So if I have another relapse, so my mentality about it is I don't focus on it. I don't walk around saying I have it. I don't put it in my head. I don't like have that conversation with my body to say, we're sick, we have a disease. Like that's not what it is. But so it was just a manifestation, I believe, getting MS for my body to just kind of like, you're not listening, you're not paying attention. Like, would you, like it's speaking to me as far as what I've been through, my experiences, and like how my body holds a trauma. Like that's how I view it, and that's how I kind of just accept it. I wasn't always in this place, but
right. So have you ever suffered an illness of any sort, Aurora?
No.
Like a deep illness like that? No. So what are the things that have been hard for you to forgive in your life?
I guess just not spending as much time with people, or not communicating correctly with them if something bothered me or they did something I didn't like,
That not standing up for yourself?
Yeah, not standing up for myself.
Yeah.
Or not creating boundaries, healthy boundaries between us.
Yes. Very good. That's awesome. Okay, so Misty Boret wants to know, what is everybody doing actively to end karmic cycles and move the wheel of fortune in the right direction? Do either one of y'all have anything, any idea to speak to that?
Not really.
Stacey?
I don't know, I guess like mostly what I talked about, I'm just, I'm on my path. It's just,
Yeah.
Just keep moving forward. And even if, I take 2 steps back, there's a reason. Like I kind of go through life like, what's the lesson? Rather than how could you, or why is this happening to me? I did that for too long. It got me nowhere. So
Right.
just look at it differently.
Right.
Yeah.
So now also Carrie wants to know, do we think that going through some type of trauma or like major illness or something, how do y'all feel about, is that something that we carry from a previous life? I kind of like what you were saying a second ago, Stacey, and I kind of resonate with that about how it's a manifestation because of I wasn't taking care of myself, or however it was that you said it much more eloquently than that. But do y'all believe that sometimes these illnesses or certain traumas that we experience can actually be something that we bring in from a previous life? Or do you even believe in previous lives?
Yeah, I
I
believe
get,
we had many.
sorry.
No, it's
Go
okay.
ahead, Aurora.
Well, I do think we've had past lives, and it's crazy because some of the things we do now could have been trauma that we've had to overcome in this life. So some of the things that we don't even realize that we have could be from then. That's what I believe.
Yeah, you're kind of throwing all that around in your head right now.
Yeah.
Stacey?
So when I kind of went through my thing and unpacked, the events of my life and the trauma that I had, it was kind of overwhelming. But then as I stuck with it, I realized it's not just a past life idea. It's also in this life, you pick up other people's things, and mostly from people who are traumatized themselves. And it's just kind of like, we're all just kind of like sharing the pot in a way, and we're just like mixing it up. And it's like, as you start to unpack it, though, there's a lot that you can let go of really easily when you realize that was never mine. Like that was just like, somebody didn't want to look at that, or someone didn't want to deal with that. So they were like, hey, can you hold this for me for a while? Like literally that's what it is. And so it's helpful to look at it in a way of, again, accepting yourself and going through the forgiveness of, you're doing the work, and it's something to be, proud of yourself for. Like it's hard, and look around, like you see lots of people who choose the other route, like either to numb out or just ignore it, or to, bleed out onto somebody else.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I think boundaries are important.
Right.
Especially now, yeah.
Especially now, yes. But I love the way you say that we're all just kind of all kind of moving along in the same pot. It's true, right? It's very true. And I also love what you said about sometimes what we're carrying is for somebody else. A friend of mine went to an energy healing class, and when she was telling me about it, she said she told us to always ask the question, if we feel ill or whatever, a headache, whatever, is this, whose pain is this? And she says, because sometimes it's just not even ours. And if it's not ours, we can just say, okay, well, I'm not going to carry you. You can go, you're welcome to leave now, or whatever. And I've actually done that a couple times if I've started to get a headache or a sore leg or, something. And I thought, wow, or breathe through it. Okay, I'm I'm going to release you or whatever, and just breathe through it and it leaves. So it's really strange to me. And I love the way you said that sometimes it's just not ours. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really great. Carrie says, just go smoke weed. You're so funny. Okay, Misty says, do you feel that we're attracted to people and things that aren't good for us because of lessons that we haven't learned yet the first time?
Definitely.
Yes.
Because it, like on a deeper possible soul level, we're all just trying to heal. I mean, that's what we're doing, but we're kind of like looking for the answers in the wrong places because it's familiar, like you said, that comfort, like, oh, I know what that is. I'm going to go over there. That's my kind of people, you know, and because that's what you know.
Right. Aurora?
Yeah, I feel that too because right now I'm currently living with a family, my friend's family, and I feel like we've had this kind of not karmic cycle, but something to learn from each other. And the things that we've had gone through, it definitely made me look at things differently, and it's made me realize things about myself too that I need to heal, that I need to overcome. And in the midst of it, like I'm also helping her too, like because she has her own issues, and I can see things differently, and I can help her as well.
So, okay, so let's talk about you can help her as well. How do you do that?
Just being honest and talking, like if I think she did something wrong, but she doesn't see it at all, like I give her a different perspective on it. I give her my perspective, and like if she's arguing with someone else, I give her the perspective from them because we all have our own minds and we think differently. So I'm bringing consciousness to her, I guess, or
That's
making
awesome.
her more conscious of it.
Yeah. And you're not doing it necessarily by saying you need to blah, blah, blah. How do you help people see things, Stacey? Go ahead. Let me just tell you, I admire you because I took a class to become a coach, and we had to take one of the parts of the curriculum was an ethics code. And in that code, it said you cannot tell people what to do or what you think they need to do. And you can't even share your own personal experience without their permission. And so I finished the class, but I didn't take the test because I thought I cannot stick to that code. So I can't, there's no point in me having a license because I'm constantly thinking I need to tell people what they need to do.
So it was a hard lesson for me to realize that I used to be the kind of person that, you know, thought I had the answers. Mainly, you know, from my education, I would always apply it to my current situation or my personal life. And my marriage, of course, was not great. It was manipulative and emotionally abusive. But I did a lot of trying to fix him. You know, I'm a fixer. I'm going to walk in, I'm going to fix you. And so all my focus was on him and working out things for him and doing his work. So I learned a hard lesson in that. And I realized also that coming on the other side of that, that's kind of where I fall into coaching, where I'm just kind of like, you know, people are going to do what they want to do. And, you know, I really don't have that power or the say so to be like, I know what you need, but it's more of it's a relationship and it's a dialogue, and it's about, again, as Aurora was saying, the perspective is a big thing because you can't change someone's perspective, especially when you have no idea what that looks like to them. You know what I mean? It's their own ideas. It's their own, it's what they have experienced and what they know. And I can't understand that from where I am. So again, like the coaching aspect of it, it's just the relationship between you and your client is where the stuff happens. yeah, but I could totally see how it's hard to not, like, you know, step over that boundary, especially when someone's, you know, just spewing out, and this happened, and then they said this, and then, you know, it's just, it's hard. But I'm definitely, in my professional role, like, I can do that. In my personal relationships, I'm still working on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, guys. Let's see. Kathy Roscoe said to you, Aurora, she says she can relate. I'm not real sure what you were saying when she said that, but she does relate to you.
Okay.
Okay, so remember, if you're asking a question, to put question marks at the end, because it's really hard for me to determine questions or not. I don't have time to read every single one of these. So, so D is asking, do you think you're an empath? So both of you can answer that. Aurora, do you think you're an empath?
Yeah. Yeah. Growing up, I was always really quiet, and I've always felt other people's energy, you know, what the person's like, or, you know, how they are. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Stacey?
Yes, but I don't like the label of saying that. I feel it's a skill that people could develop through numerous ways. But for me, though, I've always got like the negative side of it, where I was always told I'm too sensitive. And then that would like kind of like roll into this, like, well, it's your fault, you know, like, and stop being so sensitive. And it's like, you're basically telling me not to feel. Like, that was the message. And so, of course, yeah, that definitely stuck. Like, I was in a place where it was like, you know, feeling is bad. Like, what would you do with your feelings? Like, don't be so emotional. And I like that, again, you know, through my education, the idea of energy was never a topic, but it's so freeing to view it that way, rather than all that other mental jargon or like psychological BS. It's like, it just makes it so simple. And then you can just, again, it really helps with the letting go idea of, you know, that's all it is.
I agree with that. Yeah. Okay, guys, we are at the top of the hour. I'm just going to see real quick, is there any other? Okay, so this will be our last question. And if I did not get to your question, I apologize. Just come around again next week and try again. Just remember, when you do ask a question, just a whole bunch of question marks. This will be the last question, and then we'll say good day. How do you block negative people, the energy? How do you block all the negative people? Aurora?
I think simply just don't give them your energy, because if you don't give them anything, what are they going to respond to?
Okay. Stacey?
I recently started looking at it as, if someone else outside of me is having that strong of an impact on me, what is it in me that needs to be balanced? I just keep bringing it back to myself, because that's the only thing I can control.
100% responsibility, really. Yeah. 100% responsibility, because we do have the choice and the authority over our own person, right?
Yeah.
So guys, thank y'all so very much for being a part of this roundtable discussion. Stacey and Aurora, you guys rock. And I am so grateful that you were here. And Aurora, you don't have a business or anything, but Stacey, if somebody wants to get with you for life coaching or health coaching or trauma recovery, how can they reach you?
You can email me at traumarecoverycoaching at gmail.
At Gmail, traumarecoverycoaching at Gmail. Okay. Yeah. So if you would like to visit with Stacey more, maybe see about her services, trauma recovery
coaching
traumarecoverycoaching@gmail.com. Okay, guys, thank y'all so much for stopping in this morning. We love you
Thank you.
all. And yeah, Stacey and Aurora, y'all rock. And I'm so grateful to both of you. So
Thank
y'all
you.
have a super duper day, and see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.